Hi everyone, my name is Ben, and this is Positively Oriented. I am lucky enough to be here today with Shen, and Shen is also an adoptee from what part of China?
So I'm from Anhui. Yeah, so kind of just going back, I guess, to the beginning. So I was adopted in 1996. I was already 4 years old by that time. And my mother, who was a single white American individual, came with my grandmother to Anhui to pick me up. We actually were picked up in a hotel in Hefei. And so they actually didn't get to see the orphanage at that time, but I was given a little photo album book to be able to look at with my family as I grew up. And so my adoption group was had four other individuals in it, and we were kind of the first big wave of adoptees coming out of China. I spoke a little bit of Chinese when I came to America, but I quickly kind of lost that and just kind of converted to English. I grew up in the Midwest, so I'm close to St. Louis City, and I'm still actually in the area. I've never really traveled too far away from that area. And as far as my family integrating any of my culture or anything like that into my childhood, we really didn't do anything in that regards. I was just kind of assimilated into the family, which they believed at that time was probably the best. And so I was just treated as another kid. We don't talk about really, oh, yeah, Kelsey's, since she was from China, or, we didn't celebrate Chinese New Year. We celebrated the Christian holidays, so, Easter and Christmas. And so I actually, since I grew up in the Midwest and what I did, there was not a big population of Asians at the time there. So I didn't really know how to even interact with other Asians. And so when I would encounter other Asians, I would almost kind of steer away from them because I was so shy and I felt nervous. And there was that, almost like that shame a little bit of, like these people are supposed to be like you, but you're not like them. And so it took me a long time for me as a person to kind of just like be able to be more comfortable in that. And so I didn't start really exploring my identity until I was in college years. And then I had an opportunity to connect with other Chinese individuals. I met another adoptee friend there.
Yeah, I have this suspicious feeling that a majority of us adoptees ended up being adopted and then moving to rural America rather than urban America. So there's definitely less opportunities for engaging with other Chinese individuals or wanting to retain our language or culture and things like that. And one of the things that I found interesting is I was a teacher in Chicago public schools, and we had quite a few foreign kids, whether they're from Europe or China or South Central America. And these kids who are coming in, they're speaking English at school, and they absolutely refuse to speak their home language. And when their parents are around, if they're in a public space, they're speaking English. But if they're probably home, I'm guessing they're much more comfortable speaking Chinese. And you and I being probably on the older side of adoption, um, I find that really interesting. And so I was wondering what you could tell me more about your linguistic experiences. Did you have a hard time learning English? And then did you ever want to relearn Chinese? And if so, at what point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like I said, I was 4 years old when I came to America. And so for me, picking up English was really easy. And as far as learning Chinese, my family always said that, oh, I would pick it up really easily because I was already speaking it when I came here. But I wound up taking a college course for Chinese Mandarin, and that if I found out real quick, not true at all. I wish it was, but it's definitely just a foreign language to me. It's very difficult, and something I haven't kept up with. So I only took about 2 semesters, so I'm very basic Mandarin speaking, but I try to incorporate some of just exposure to the language by like watching and reading books and anything that if I can have it in like the subtitles in English and then the Mandarin speaking language in the background. I think that kind of helps me to recognize certain just phrases and then as far as books go, like just reading books about like the culture or having nuances about the culture in the book. It can be fiction, but it might sound silly, but even how like them talking about like tea and stuff like that, you know, like that's not something I read in Western books all the time, or it's not as common, or the family structure. So, and just hearing names, and being able to actually recognize like, oh, how to say certain names, because we don't see Z's as much, in the English
Yeah.
language and stuff. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I am in regards to like language wise. Definitely not fluent. I would like to be, but obviously that takes time and that takes resources. And at this point in time, I just have to focus elsewhere. But what free time I do have, I do like to pick that up where I can. So
Yeah. Um, my parents said the same thing to me about, oh, you know what, like you didn't get adopted until you're 7, you were speaking it
hmm
almost fluently. But again, they don't know what fluent Chinese actually is. Um, and I have people who are in my network who do speak perfect Chinese because they're students coming here. And they're telling me your Chinese back then would have been baby Chinese. It wouldn't have been real adult Chinese.
right,
And I think the thing that is important to remember is that our neuroplasticity at such a young age is hardwired to help us acquire linguistic skills. But when things are set foundationally into place, for me, it was taking my language courses during my elementary classes during that normal time. But then I also spent hours at a time outside of class in a private classroom setting, practicing words that were really, really hard for me because we use different muscles in the mouth to actually create
yeah,
those sounds.
yeah.
And so
Sorry,
it's
so go ahead. That makes a good point. I actually had speech therapy when I was in
mhm,
school, probably because of that, because I couldn't say like my R's and stuff like that, or
mhm.
so there's certain letters I couldn't really pronounce well. So I never really thought about that being tied back, but that makes a lot more sense. That would be tied because I was speaking another language prior and stuff. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And so picking up a language is something that demands not because neuroplasticity is something that's fluid. It's not something that is set in structure, but it does demand a lot of time, resources, things that you said to allow your brain to become flexible and to pick up new things. Muscle memory is one of those things where if you're doing something for so long, it's really hard to break out of that habit. And one of the things that I'm realizing for Chinese is I can't, my Chinese is quite frankly dog water. And it's just because I can't use the right muscle groups and I can understand Chinese fairly okay, more than I think most people realize. And so they get surprised when I understand what they said. This has been. I hope you guys enjoyed the first installment of the interview with Shen. If you guys did enjoy the video, I want you guys to hit that like button for me. And if you guys want to share your story or anything like that, comment below or visit me at my positivelyoriented.org website. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.